First, muscle tissue contraction occurs in the muscle fibers. So you know, inside the muscle you have the muscle fibers, and when all the muscle fibers contract, the muscle contracts. So you need to know how the muscle fiber contracts. Contraction of muscle fiber occurs. So we'll basically talk about that in this lecture. First, we'll see the functions of muscles. Then we'll talk about the structure of the skeletal muscle. Then we'll talk about the myofibrils. Inside the muscle fiber, you have many rod-like structures, although microscopic, definitely. Those are called myofibrils. We will see the structure of a myofibril. And inside the myofibrils, you have the contractile unit of muscle. That means inside the myofibril you have the unit of muscle contraction. We'll see those units inside the myofibril. Then inside that unit of contraction you have what? You have the contractile proteins. There are 4 different types of proteins. We'll see what are the contractile proteins that help in muscle contraction. Then we'll talk about the cross-bridging, neuromuscular junction, and couple of clinical conditions related to muscle contraction. So first, you know, there are 3 types of muscle tissues. You have learned that in your lab part, so you already know that. You know that cardiac and smooth are involuntary, skeletal is voluntary. And you have also examined those muscle tissues under the microscope, so you are already learned about that. Functions or special characteristics of muscle: excitability, contractility, extensibility, and elasticity. These are what kind of properties or characteristics? Functional properties or characteristics. Remember, not structural. If I ask you what's the structural property, you can explain that in skeletal muscle you have striations, you have in cardiac muscle intercalated disc. Those are the structures. But if I ask you what are the functional properties of muscle, these are the functional properties. Excitability is the ability to receive and respond to a stimulus. What is that? If I poke your muscle or hit on the muscle, muscle contracts, right? You know that. Contraction of muscle occurs. So the muscle tissue receives the stimulus. Stimulus is I'm hitting or tapping, and response is the contraction. How muscle responds? By showing contraction. Make sense? So the ability to receive and respond. That's the excitability. Contractility, the ability to get shorter. Contraction. And extensibility. The muscle tissue has kind of elasticity, so if you pull the muscle from both ends, it can expand. That is the extensibility, the ability to get elongated or stretched, or ability to get longer. Then after you remove that pressure, what happens? Muscle gets back to its actual shape, recoils. The ability to recoil is called the elasticity. You know the elastic thing you use in your clothes, right? You can expand, that's the extensibility. Now, if you release that pressure, what happens? It gets back to its actual shape, shorter. That ability is the elasticity. Functions of the muscle. Movement of bones. We all know that bones move at the joints with the help of muscles. Without muscles, bones will not be able to move at the joints. So in one sentence, bones move at the joints with the help of muscles. Muscles contract and relax to move the bones. And that's how we move the body parts, by the contraction and relaxation of the muscles. Circulation of body fluid. You know that heart pumps the blood. That's the best example. Your heart muscle contracts and relaxes, and that gives the blood flow, motion to the blood. Maintaining posture and body position. So we use the muscles to maintain the body position. Stabilizing joints. The muscles cross the joints. You see here, the muscles originate or start in the arm, they go to the forearm. The muscles arise from the forearm, go to the hand. So what happens? Those muscles originate here, go to the forearm, that means cross the elbow joint. Is it clear? Those muscles originate here, go to the hand, right? So they cross the wrist joint, right? So those muscles arise here, they go to the fingers, right? So cross the joints. And by crossing the joints from different directions, the muscles also stabilize the joint. So the joints are stabilized because the muscles cross the joints. Generation of heat or production of heat. You know that when muscle contraction occurs, heat is produced. You all know that, right? When you do exercise, what happens? Heat is produced because you are contracting your skeletal muscles. Why that happens? Muscle contraction increases the metabolism, and metabolism produces heat. Is it clear? The more metabolism, more heat will be produced. Now, the structure of a skeletal muscle. If you just see the skeletal muscle, for example, you see the structure of your biceps brachii, this muscle. So, this is the whole muscle, and if I cut it, inside the muscle, you will see very nice round structures, columns. Those are called fascicles. So this is the whole muscle, right? Whole muscle, and if you cut it, inside the muscle, you will see many round structures, columns. Those are called fascicles. Okay. And now, if you see inside a fascicle, you will see again many columnar structures. These are called muscle fibers. Okay, beautiful. Inside the muscle, you'll see the structure. Now, inside the fiber, if you see very carefully, you'll see rod-like structures. Thin rod-like structures are inside the muscle fiber, and these thin rod-like structures are called myofibrils. Myofibrils. So, you see that muscle, skeletal muscle, is basically columns within columns. Within big columns, you have smaller columns. Make sense? So, that's the structure of the skeletal muscle. Whole muscle, then inside the whole muscle, you have large columns. Those are called the fascicles. Inside those fascicles, you have smaller columns. Those are called the muscle fibers. Inside the muscle fibers, you have thin rod-like structures. Those are called the myofibrils. Is it clear? Okay. Now, the whole muscle is covered by a connective tissue sheath or membrane that is called epimysium. You see the picture? Epimysium is the covering of the whole muscle. Okay. Epimysium covers the whole muscle. Then the fascicle is covered by another connective tissue sheath. So each fascicle has covering like this, and that covering of the fascicle is called perimysium. Peri means around. So perimysium is the covering of each fascicle. And then the muscle fiber is covered by another connective tissue membrane, and that is called endomysium. That's the innermost one, right? So endo means inside, you know that. Endomysium. So those are three coverings in the skeletal muscle. Whole muscle is covered by what? Perimysium. The fascicles are covered by perimysium, right? Epimysium covers the whole muscle, perimysium covers the fascicles, and then inside the fascicles you have the fibers. Those are covered by endomysium. Epimysium, then perimysium, then endomysium. Okay. Right, muscle fibers are endomysium. Okay, so now you see the thin rod-like structures are the myofibrils. Remember this, we'll talk about this a lot because that's the smallest structure here, the thin rod-like structures, myofibrils. Okay. Skeletal muscle fiber is a cylindrical fiber, you already know, and very long. It can be up to 100 micrometer diameter and 30 centimeter long. That means it is a single cell. A muscle fiber is a single cell. Skeletal muscle fiber could be that long. So 30 up to 30 centimeter long. Multiple peripheral nuclei, you already know that. Many mitochondria. Lot of metabolism occurs. That's why you have many mitochondria. You know mitochondria provides ATP, called the powerhouse. And inside the muscle fiber, you have the myofibrils that you already know, that those thin rod-like structures. Okay. So here you see just one muscle fiber, and inside the muscle fiber you see the myofibrils. Those rod-like structures are myofibrils. Now I told you that, remember, we'll talk about that myofibril a lot. So let's talk about that myofibril. Okay. So if I just take out one thin rod-like structure myofibril out like this and see under the microscope, what I see is, so this is just one myofibril. Okay. Segments in it, many segments. So this is a myofibril, one in rod-like myofibril. Okay, and inside the myofibril, if you see under the microscope, you will see many segments. Each segment is the functional unit of muscle contraction. So the segment is the functional unit of contraction, and that segment is called a sarcomere. Sarcomere. So this is one sarcomere, this is another sarcomere, right? So each segment is a sarcomere, and that is the functional unit. That means unit of contraction. Now the units or sarcomeres are separated by the discs. These are called the Z discs. So this is one Z disc, this is another Z disc, okay, and in between this is the sarcomere. So this is another Z disc, right? So in between two Z discs, the area is the sarcomere. So sarcomeres are separated by Z disc. Now, what happens when the muscle contraction occurs? Since these are the unit of muscle contraction, what happens? Each of these segments, that means sarcomere, get shorter. So when all these sarcomere inside the myofibril get shorter, the whole myofibril gets what? Shorter. Make sense? So all Z discs come close to each other, right? And the myofibril gets shorter. And when all myofibrils inside the muscle fiber get shorter, what happens? The muscle fiber gets shorter. Is it clear? And when all muscle fibers within the fascicle get shorter, the fascicles get shorter. Make sense? And when all fascicles get shorter within the whole muscle gets what? Shorter. And that is the contraction. So where the contraction starts? In the sarcomere, right? The sarcomeres first get shorter, and that is the beginning. So that's why sarcomeres are the unit of contraction. Okay, now I say that sarcomeres get shorter. How? Inside the sarcomeres you have filaments. Two types of filaments are present inside the sarcomere. Thick filaments and thin filaments. So inside the sarcomere you have thick filaments and another type of filaments you have, those are called thin filaments. So let me see, the thick filament is actually like this. Okay, so this one is the thick filament, and these are the thin filaments. This is thin filament. Okay, so this is the thick and these are thin filaments. Thin filaments are directly attached to the Z discs. So you see one end is attached to the Z disc, another end is free. Thick filaments are connected to the Z disc by spring-like structures. These are protein spring. These spring-like structures are called chitin. So the thin filaments are directly attached to the Z disc, but thick filament, both ends, are attached by chitin, spring-like protein structures or protein springs. Okay, and these filaments, yeah, to Z disc, yes, both ends of thick filament. Now, these thick and thin filaments are the contractile structures. They help in contraction. We'll see how. If you see first the structure of a thin filament under a very powerful microscope, you can see that a thin filament consists of two chains. So each thin filament consists of two chains. So this is a thin filament. Okay. How many chains? Two. So two chains are attached to each other, and that is the thin filament. And the structures, those round structures from the chains are called actins. So many actin units join together side by side like this and form chains. How many chains? They form two chains, and those two chains together form the thin filament. Okay. Now, if you see a thick filament under very powerful microscope, you'll see that thick filament consists of many golf club-like structures like this. Bundle of golf club-like structures. You have seen golf clubs, right? So many golf club-like structures are bundled together to form what? Thick filament. Okay. So this is how the thick filament is. This is how the thin filament is. Okay. Bundle of golf club-like structures. You know golf club? Okay, so many golf club-like structures are bundled together. And now each golf club-like structure is called myosin. So many myosin units bundled together to form the thick filament. Many actin units join together to form the thin filament. Make sense? Okay. Yeah.
What did you say each golf club-like structure was called?
Myosin.
Myosin.
M-Y-O-S-I-N. Okay. So, how many types of filaments you have inside the sarcomere? Two. What are those? Thick and thin. Now, thin filament consists of how many chains? Two. Those chains are formed by round structures. Those are called what? Actins. Make sense? So many actin units join together to form two chains, and that is the thin filament. Make sense? Now, thick filament consists of bundle of many what? Golf club-like structures. Each of those structures is called what? Myosin. Okay. So now we'll see this is an actin. I will just take one actin, and I'll take one myosin. Okay, so this is a myosin. So this is actin ball unit. This is myosin. Is it clear? Okay. And now on the actin ball you have a binding site. So each actin ball, on the top of the actin ball you have binding site. This site is called site for myosin. Site for what? Myosin on the actin ball. Now let's see the myosin. In myosin head, this is the head of myosin. You have the binding site for actin. This is the site for actin. Okay. Now you see on actin you have site for what? Myosin. Is it clear? And on myosin head you have site for actin. Is it clear? So on actin you have site for what? Myosin. And on myosin head you have site for actin. Is it clear? So that means what? They will get attached to each other. Because I have site for you, you have site for me, right? So we will get attached. So yes.
So what you drew above the first actin, so is that just part of it? That's just the head, you said?
No, a myosin has head because it's like a golf club, right? So
Yeah.
this is the head, this is the tail. So myosin has head and tail, but actin is like a ball, right? It doesn't have head or tail. Okay. So now you understand. Each has a site for the other, right? That means they will get attached to each other. Make sense? And that happens during the muscle contraction. But the problem is there is a structure that separates these two units. In between the myosin head and actin ball or actin unit, you have a structure that separates, keep those two structures separated. And this rope-like structure is called tropomyosin. Tropomyosin. So, tropomyosin is a rope-like protein structure that keeps the actin and myosin what? Separated. So they cannot get attached. And on the tropomyosin, you have another protein structures like this, like small round protein structures. These are called troponins. So on tropomyosin, you have troponins. All these are proteins. All these are protein structures. Actin, myosin, troponin, tropomyosin, all these are protein. Chitin. Okay. So now you see four important structures are here. Actin, this is the actin, myosin, tropomyosin and troponin. Okay. Tropomyosin, there is an O here, tropomyosin. Sorry, not here, tropomyosin here. Okay, tropomyosin. Okay, now just know that actin and myosin, all these are proteins, but these two proteins, they form the filaments, thin and thick filaments. These are called contractile proteins. Contractile proteins. Okay, actin and myosin, they form the filaments, thin and thick filaments. And tropomyosin and troponin, these two are called regulatory proteins. Regulatory proteins. Okay. Okay. Now, this is in relaxed condition. When your muscle is in relaxed condition, the myosin head is kept separated from the actin ball by tropomyosin in relaxed condition. Then when you decide to contract your muscle, what happens? You send signal from where? To the muscle, from the brain, right? You decide and send signal from the brain to the muscle, that muscle contraction should occur. So, when that happens, you send signal from the brain to the muscle, that signal releases calcium into the muscle. So, these are the calcium molecules. Calcium is released in the muscle.
Released from which one? To the muscle or to the
What?
the calcium?
Calcium is released from where?
From which one? From the muscle?
I didn't mention that. None of this. Just remember that calcium is released. I'll talk about that later. Okay. So, calcium, when we send signal from the brain to the muscle, what happens in the muscle? Release of calcium occurs. And the calcium binds with the troponins like this. Binds with what? Troponins. And when the calcium troponin binding occurs, what happens? All these troponins move to the side like this. They move to the side. So what happens when all these troponins move to the side, because the tropomyosin also moves to the side because troponins are attached to the tropomyosin. So this is tropomyosin, troponins are attached like this, right? So when calcium gets attached to the troponins, they move to the side, so they roll the rope to the side. Make sense? Because troponins are attached on tropomyosin, so that rolls the rope, tropomyosin, to the side. And that moves the tropomyosin away from here. So now you see that myosin head and actin ball, they get free to get attached to each other because tropomyosin has been replaced, has been displaced from there. So what will happen? They are waiting to meet. So the myosin head will bind with the actin ball. So the myosin head will now get attached to the actin ball. And that attachment is called cross bridging. So cross bridging is the attachment of myosin head on the actin ball. Cross bridging. Okay, so that's the attachment of myosin and actin. Okay, after that attachment, what happens? Now you see here, let me go back to previous picture. These are the actin balls, and you have many myosin here. These are myosins. So cross bridging or attachment has occurred. Then what happens next? The myosin heads bend like this. All these myosin heads will bend. So this myosin head will bend like this. And that bending of myosin head is called power stroke. So power stroke is next step. After cross bridging, next is what? Power stroke. The bending of the head. All these heads will bend. That is called the power stroke. Okay. So what happens? You must remember. Now let's go back. This is the sarcomere. So two Z discs. So this is one Z. This is another Z disc. And you know, thin filaments are directly attached, right? And here, what happens? The thick filament consists of the myosins. So these are the myosins. This is thick filament. So all these heads get attached to the actins from this side, and all these heads get attached to the actins from this side, and they bend like this, bend like this. So what will happen? When these heads, see here, when these heads will bend like this, that will move the Z disc this way. Make sense? Because actin is attached to the Z disc, so actin will move this way towards the center, so Z disc will move this way. And from this side, these heads will bend like this, so that will move the Z disc this way, because thin filaments are directly attached to the Z disc. So Z disc will move towards each other, that means towards the center of the sarcomere, and that is the shortening of the sarcomere. Okay, so when the heads will bend like this from both sides, Z discs will come close to each other, and that is the shortening of the sarcomere. And inside the myofibril, all sarcomeres get shorter at the same time. Remember, I said that causes the contraction of myofibril, right? When all myofibrils will get shorter, that will cause the contraction of the muscle fiber, because myofibrils are inside the muscle fiber. When all muscle fibers will get shorter, the fascicle will get shorter, right? When all fascicles will get shorter, whole muscle will get shorter, and that is the muscle contraction. Is it clear? So that now, the myosin head has the binding site for actin, but also myosin head has a site for ATP. Site for ATP. You must know ATP is what? The source of energy. So what happens after the cross bridging? Next is power stroke, right? Bending of the head. To bend the head, you need what? ATP. So every time after cross bridging, ATP will come and will get attached to the head of myosin, and that will give the power to stroke, to bend. Every time ATP will come and power stroke will occur. Okay, so ATP is utilized for power stroke, and that's why we need metabolism to produce ATP, right, to cause the muscle contraction. Now
the power stroke is the same but contraction, the same meaning of contraction,
Power stroke is bending of the head.
but shortening is the
Shortening is the contraction. It is like, have you seen rowing of boat? Boat rowing? Long boats, sometimes you will see like many people, right? Sit and hit the water with the paddle, right? At the same time. So it is like this. You see here, this is the myosin head. Many myosin heads are at the same time getting attached, right? And doing like this. So that will move the ZDs towards each other. Make sense? So it's like, rowing the boat, hitting, taking out, hitting again, right? Like this.
power stroke leading to contraction.
Right. Yeah, that's the mechanism of contraction. Okay. Now, the question is, from where the calcium comes, right? That you asked. That's a good question. On the myofibril, now let's go back to myofibril. This is the myofibril. Inside the myofibril, you have sarcomeres, and around the myofibril, you have tube-like structures that are connected to each other, many tube-like structures, and these are called sarcoplasmic reticulum or SR. They look like endoplasmic reticulum. You remember inside the cell when we talked about the cell, endoplasmic reticulum? How many of you remember? Must remember endoplasmic reticulum, right? Tube-like structures. So in case of muscle fiber, around the myofibril, you have sarcoplasmic reticulum. Very similar structure, tube-like structures. And these sarcoplasmic reticulum are filled with calcium. So calcium is stored inside the tubes of sarcoplasmic reticulum. Make sense? And when you send signal from the brain, that will tell the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release the calcium. Where the calcium should go inside the sarcomere, right? Where you have actin myosin, troponin, topomyosin. So now from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, the tube that takes the calcium inside the sarcomere, that tube is called T-tubule. T-tubule. So you see, when you send signal from the brain, that will tell the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release the calcium, and that calcium will get in through the T-tubule. And you have here actin myosin, troponin, topomyosin. You already know that. Okay, so that calcium will get in and will bind with what? Those tiny structures, right, on the row, troponins. Make sense? And then troponins will move to the side, right? And that will move the topomyosin to the side. So when topomyosin will move away, what will happen? The binding will occur, right? The myosin head is waiting for that, right? To get attached. So that attachment is called what? Cross bridging. And then after that, ATP will come and get attached to the myosin head to do what? Power stroke, the bending, right? And that will move the sarcomere, ZDs close to each other. That's the shortening of the sarcomere. Okay. Okay. So all these are happening in microscopic level. That means without microscope you won't be able to see, right? So to see the troponins, topomyosins, actin, you need myosin head, you need very powerful microscope. So you see that how beautifully, right? Everything is happening in so tiny, small level. That's amazing. You see here blue structure, that's the sarcoplasmic reticulum around the myofibril. So you see those structures are filled with calcium. Okay, now you see the picture of a muscle myofibril or sarcomere under the microscope in two conditions. The upper one is showing relaxed condition, and here you see two dark lines in both sides. Those are the Z discs, right? So you see that Z discs are away from each other, but if you see the lower one, you see two dark lines got closer to each other. That means this is in contractile condition, right? Sarcomere is shorter. Just you see one sarcomere here between two Z discs. So this is one Z disc, this is another. So this is one sarcomere. And here the sarcomere got shorter. Same thing happens in all other sarcomeres, in same myofibril. Now, another thing you notice here is in some places you see the sarcomere is darker, in some places lighter. Why is that? Very simple. You know, when you see something under the microscope, you pass light from the bottom, right? You did it. Light from the bottom. Now, if in some areas you have more tissue, then less light will pass through it. Make sense? Is it clear? More tissue, then less light will pass, right? That area will look darker. If less tissue, then light will be able to pass. So it will look lighter. Now you see here, in the middle portion, let's see first, you have here, you have only what? Thick filament, right? Red structures, these are thick filaments, right? So in the middle, center portion of sarcomere, you have only thick filaments. Make sense? Now go to both sides. Here, you tell me, you have only what? Thin filaments, right? Here. You have titin, these are the titins, you see the springs, thin filament. But in this part, you have what? Both thick and thin. Make sense? That means when the light will be blocked more. In this part. Is it clear? Because you have both thick and thin. That's why you see that area is the darkest area. Very simple, right? Where more structures, darker. Less structure, lighter. Okay. And that's how it looks like under the less powerful microscope. Now if you use very high powerful electron microscope, you'll be able to see those tiny troponin, tropomyosin, actin, myosin, right? Those structures. But a regular microscope will show like this. Now, in the bottom picture, you see that the actin, the thin filaments got very close to each other from both sides. Almost no space is left between two thin filaments because this is a contractile condition. But in relaxed condition, you see the space between thin filaments. And those dark and light areas have different names, like A band, I band, Z band or Z line, H band, but you don't need to remember those name of those bands, okay? Just know why are those, right? Now you know, because dark area, light area, more dark area, so that's why they named those areas. So I'll just briefly go over what I have talked about so far. So if you help me, all of you, okay? So if you see the whole muscle, inside the muscle, you have large columnar structures. Those are called what? Fascicles, right? Inside the fascicles, you have smaller columns. Those are called fibers. Very good. Inside the fibers, you have rod-like thin structures. Those are called very important structure. Myofibrils, right? Myofibrils. Thin rod-like structures. And I told you that is important, right? The smallest ones. And how many coverings you have here? 3. Outermost is the epimysium that covers the whole muscle. Is it clear? Then fascicles are covered by what? Perimysium. And then muscle fibers are covered by endomysium. Make sense? The 3 coverings. Now, if you see just one myofibril, I'll take just one tiny dot from here out, rod-like structure. That is the myofibril. Inside the myofibril you have segments, right? Each segment is called what? Sarcomere, right? So this is one sarcomere, this is another. They are separated by what? Z discs, right? Z discs. So I can tell that sarcomere is in between 2 Z discs, right? Now, in sarcomere is called what? Functional unit, right? Functional unit of contraction. That means what? Each sarcomere can contract during muscle contraction, right? Each sarcomere contracts during muscle contraction. Now, inside the sarcomere, how many fibers you have? Types of fibers? 2. What are those? Thin and thick. Which ones are directly attached to Z disc? Thin. And thick filament is attached to the Z disc by what? Protein spring. Those are called titin. Is it clear? Sense? Okay. Now you tell me, thin filament is formed by how many chains? 2. And those chains are formed by round structures. Those are called what? Actins, right? Actin units. 2 chains. On the actin, you have a binding site for what? Myosin, right? Now let's see the thick filament. Thick filament is formed by the bundle of what kind of structures? Myosin, golf club, right? That means what? Each myosin has a head and a tail, right? And on the head, you have binding site for what? Actin and ATP, because the head will bend, right? It needs ATP too. Okay. But the problem is what? In relaxed condition, the myosin head cannot get attached to the actin balls because there is a structure there, rope-like structure, that is called what? Tropomyosin, right? And on the tropomyosin, you have those tiny protein structures, troponins. Is it clear? Okay. Now, to move the rope to the side, what should be released? Calcium, right? That's why we say calcium is essential for muscle contraction, you all know, right? Without calcium, muscle contraction will not occur. In hypocalcemia, muscle will not contract. Make sense? So calcium binds with what? Troponins, right? And then troponins move to the side. That moves the tropomyosin to the side, right? So now myosin head gets attached to the actin, and that is called what? Cross bridging. Is it clear? And after that, one ATP will come and sit on the myosin head to do what? Bending. That's the power stroke, right? Now, million of myosin heads get attached to the million of actin balls at the same time. These are all microscopic structures. Make sense? So now you see, although those are very tiny, but when million of them work together, that gives the power, right? So we'll get attached at the same time. It's like the rowing, right? Everybody must hit at the same time. Hitting and doing like this. So the thin filaments will get closer. That means the Z disc will get closer to each other. That makes sense? And that is the contraction of the sarcomere. Now, from where the calcium comes, you asked? Sarcoplasmic reticulum, right? Tube-like structures around the myofibril, right? And that calcium is taken inside the sarcomere by the tubules. Those are called T-tubules. Make sense? Is it clear to everybody? Okay. Okay, now we'll talk about another important structure that is called the neuromuscular junction. Its name is telling you what is it. It is the area where a neuron meets a muscle fiber. That's why it is called a neuromuscular junction. You all know that, for example, this is a neuron, axon terminal, you know dendrites. So this is a neuron. Okay, this is a neuron. And axon terminal, this is a muscle fiber, this is another muscle fiber. Okay, so axon terminal meets the muscle fiber. That is the neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. Where the axon terminal meets the muscle fiber. Okay, so this is the meeting point, neuromuscular junction. Now, if we see the structure of a neuromuscular junction, just this area, this tiny area, under a very powerful microscope, how it looks like. So I am just looking at this part, neuromuscular junction, under very powerful microscope. So this is the axon terminal, only this part, and this is the muscle fiber. Okay. Now, the axon terminal is also called presynaptic terminal. So axon terminal is also called a presynaptic terminal. And this part of axon terminal, this membrane, is called presynaptic membrane. Pre means before. So presynaptic membrane. Only this part of the axon terminal. And the area on the muscle fiber that is facing towards the presynaptic terminal, this part is called postsynaptic membrane. Post means after. So postsynaptic membrane. Very simple. So this part is presynaptic membrane, this part is postsynaptic membrane. Pre means before, post means after. Okay, and you see that axon terminal, if you look here carefully, I did not attach them. I left a space. That means there is a space. It's not directly attached there. And this space is called synaptic cleft. Synaptic cleft. Have you heard the word cleft? You did, right? Cleft. It's a cleft lip, right? Cleft palate. That means gap, right? So this gap is called what? Synaptic cleft. Inside the presynaptic terminal, you will see the vesicles. Round membranous structures, you all know, round membranous structures are called vesicles. You have seen vesicles inside the cells. So these are vesicles. And inside the vesicles, you have the chemical neurotransmitter. In this case, the chemical is the neurotransmitter, and the name of that neurotransmitter is acetylcholine, ACH, acetylcholine. Let me write it down. Okay. That's the name of neurotransmitter here inside the vesicles. Okay, now on the postsynaptic membrane, you have receptors. These are called receptors on the postsynaptic membrane. ACH receptors. Where? On the receptors are on the postsynaptic membrane. Is it clear? And vesicles are where? In the presynaptic terminal. Make sense? Vesicles are in the presynaptic terminal. Receptors are on the postsynaptic what? Membrane. What kind of receptors? Acetylcholine receptors. That means they are waiting there to bind with ACH, right? That's why those are ACH receptors. Okay. Now, when we decide that we will contract a muscle, what we do? We send signal from the brain to the muscle, right? That I mentioned before. Brain sends signal to the muscle through what? Neurons, nerves, right? Electrical signal, right? So from the brain, the signal will finally arrive here, and electrical signal will pass through this, like this, very fast, right? And that will do what? When the electrical signal will pass through the presynaptic membrane, you see here, calcium ion channels will get open. Calcium doors or channels will get open. So to open the calcium door, this calcium is different than the calcium we have talked about before. So this is a different place. So calcium channels will get open. So the calcium will get in. This calcium is very important to rupture the vesicles, to break the vesicles. So calcium will rupture the vesicles. So what will happen? Acetylcholine will come out. Make sense? Here in the cleft. ACH molecules will come out from the ruptured vesicles. And we'll do what? Who are waiting for them? Receptors, right? Are waiting. So the ACH molecules will bind with what? What? SH receptors, right? Because those are SH receptors. So SH will bind. And when that binding will occur, SH and the receptors, that binding will do what? It's like you are putting the key in the lock of the door. Make sense? Key is the SH and lock is the receptor. So you are putting the key in the lock to open what? The door. Right? Put the key in the lock and it must be perfect, right? If SH receptors are here and dopamine molecules are released here, will the binding be perfect? What do you think? SH receptors are only for what? SH, right? If dopamine comes here, it will not fit perfectly. Make sense? We talked about that when we talked about the proteins receptors. So SH will bind perfectly with SH receptors, and that will do what? Like your key is perfectly fitting in the lock, right? That will open the door. Is it clear? Doors are on the postsynaptic membrane, right? Because the receptors are on postsynaptic. So these doors will get open on postsynaptic membrane, and these doors are sodium channels, sodium doors. So what will happen? Sodium will get in. Sodium will get inside the muscle fiber, muscle cell. Sodium will get in. Is it clear? Okay, so let me just review this to see. So this is, whole thing is what? A neuromuscular junction. Is it clear? Where the nerve or neuron meets the muscle fiber. So in a neuromuscular junction, you have the axon terminal. Is it clear? Inside the axon terminal, you have what? Vesicles, round membranous structures, right? Vesicles are filled with what kind of neurotransmitter? Acetylcholine. Very good. And this membrane is called what? Pre or post? Presynaptic membrane. Make sense? Pre means before. And on the muscle fiber, this membrane is called postsynaptic membrane. On the postsynaptic membrane, you have the SH receptors, right? Acetylcholine receptors. Okay. Now, when you send the signal to the nerve, that electrical signal, right, passes through the presynaptic membrane, that will open which channels? Calcium. Calcium is needed to rupture the vesicles, right, and release the acetylcholine in the cleft. Is it clear? So the SH will bind now with the receptors, SH receptors, right? And that is the lock key, right? That binding to open the channels on the postsynaptic membrane. What kind of channels? Sodium channels. So this is another type of channel, right? In presynaptic calcium and postsynaptic sodium. This sodium, opening of sodium channel is very important. Now let's see what's next. So now sodium got in. Lot of sodium got inside. Sodium carries positive charge, right? Sodium carries positive charge because sodium is positively charged ion. Now if I see here, if I record inside the muscle fiber and see the voltage change inside the muscle fiber, before sodium got in, that is the resting condition, we say resting membrane potential. are empty before the sodium got in. If I record inside the muscle fiber, resting membrane potential. And this way is positive, this way is negative. Now, after the sodium gets in, inside the muscle fiber, it will become more positive or negative? Sodium is what? Positive or negative? Positive. So positive is getting in, right? And I am recording inside. So inside will become more positive. Is it clear? So this will move towards positive. Is it clear? I am seeing what changes are occurring, right? Inside. So inside will move towards what? Positive. Is it? Yeah. Before the doors get open, before the sodium channels get open, okay? If I measure inside, what is the voltage? That is called the resting membrane potential. Inside the cells of the body, if you want to know more detail, always all the cells in resting condition, it is minus. For example, in muscle fiber, minus 70 millivolt. That's the unit, okay? Now, that's what the resting membrane potential. The channels are closed. Okay. Now, when sodium channels get open, sodium gets in. Always remember why sodium gets in. That's another question. Why, when sodium channels get open, why sodium doesn't get out? Why sodium gets in? What do you think? In all the cells of the body, sodium is lower inside than outside. The concentration of sodium is lower inside than outside. So what will happen when you open the door? From outside the sodium will get in because sodium is low inside. From high concentration it will go to low concentration. That is the simple diffusion, you know that, right? So naturally sodium will get in. So the voltage will move towards what? Positive. And that is called depolarization. Have you heard this word? Depolarization. That means very simple. Depolarization occurs due to influx of what? Sodium, right? Influx of sodium. Is it clear? Sodium channels, yeah. Opening of sodium channels, influx of sodium. That is depolarization. When sodium channels get opened, who gets in? Sodium gets in. Why sodium gets in? Because concentration is higher outside than inside. Okay. Depolarization. Is it clear? Okay.
So it's lower inside than outside.
Always in all the cells of the body. Okay. Outside of the cell, sodium is more. Inside is what? Less. And that is maintained because the channels are normally closed, right? If the channels are always open, then what will happen? Always same, right? Inside, outside. That's why channels must stay closed. Only we need the channels will get open. Sodium will get in. And that is called, so influx of sodium into the myofibril or into the muscle fiber will move the membrane potential towards positive, and that is called what? Depolarization. Now after a while, what will happen? The sodium channels will get closed again. Sodium channels will get closed. So no more sodium will get in, so it will stop here. And next, what happens, you see, this is interesting, the potassium channels, we also have potassium channels here. The potassium channels will get opened. Now, potassium concentration is always opposite of sodium. That means potassium is high inside, low outside. So which way potassium will move? Outwards, because concentration is always high inside, okay? Sodium always high outside, so just opposite. So now potassium ions will get out. Potassium is also positive. Now you see, positive is getting out, right? So inside, I am measuring where? Inside, right? So inside, if from inside potassium gets out, inside will move towards positive or negative? Negative, because positive is leaving, right? So inside will move towards negative, and that is called what? Repolarization. Repolarization. Okay, come back to resting membrane potential. So if I ask you, depolarization occurs due to the influx of what? Sodium, right, into the muscle fiber. To open the sodium doors or channels, what should happen? Key lock, right? That means SH must bind with the SH receptors, right? That will open the doors. Is it clear? So that will cause depolarization. Then after that, when sodium channels will get closed, who will get opened? Potassium. And potassium will move opposite, right? That means from inside to outside. So inside the muscle fiber, the voltage will move towards negative. Make sense? And that is called repolarization. So repolarization occurs due to efflux, exit, right? Efflux, not influx. Efflux of who? Potassium. Is it clear? And now the question is, why we need all this to cause depolarization? All these things are happening to do what? The goal is depolarization and repolarization, right? All these things are happening here. Why we need this depolarization? You remember I said that when brain sends signal to the muscle, calcium is released, bind with troponins, right? To move the tropomyosin to the side for cross bridging. Remember that? So who releases the calcium? Those tubes, sarcoplasmic reticulum, right? I told you that brain sends signal to SR, right? To release calcium. That signal is the depolarization. Depolarization is the signal for the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release the calcium. If depolarization does not occur in the muscle fiber, the sarcoplasmic reticulum will not get the signal to release calcium. Is it clear? So depolarization must occur to release the calcium from muscle. Is it clear? And calcium is needed for muscle contraction, right? Now you tell me, if there is a disease that is called, it is an autoimmune disease. Have you heard autoimmune disease? In which the SH receptors are destroyed. Many SH receptors are destroyed on the postsynaptic membrane. And in this case, SH receptors are almost gone. Although you have ACH, right? So ACH will be released here, but will not be able to bind with the receptors because receptors are destroyed by autoimmune disease. Make sense? So what will happen? Doors will not get opened. Depolarization will not occur. SR will not get signal to release calcium. Make sense? No cross bridging will occur. No muscle contraction will occur. The muscles will stay relaxed. Even if you want to move, you won't be able to. It's kind of paralysis, right? So that disease is called myasthenia gravis. So myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune disease in which person's own body produces antibody to destroy the SH receptors on the postsynaptic membrane. your own body is producing antibody to destroy your own ACH receptors. Make sense? Nothing is coming from outside. That's why auto means self, immune disease. So, in myasthenia gravis, the patient always feels extreme fatigue, tiredness, not be able to, breathe forcefully, not be able to move forcefully. Make sense? So, that's the problem. Another interesting thing is, you know that after death, between 4 to 20 hours after death, during this time, after death, the muscles get what? Very stiff, right? That is called rigor or rigor mortis. Have you heard this? Okay. Why that happens? This happens due to no production of ATP. ATP only is produced in living body, right? To produce ATP you need metabolism. So only ATP is produced in the living body. So in dead body ATP is not produced. Now you must remember when we talk about myosin, actin, this binding occurs, right? Remember that? Cross bridging. And to bend the head, look at me, to bend the myosin head, you need what? ATP. Remember that? Now, also remember that I didn't mention, after that, to release the head, to move the head back to its, previous position, you need what? ATP. Because this way is movement, that way is also movement, right? So, moving and getting another one, moving, okay? So, in both ways, you need ATP. Now, after death, since the ATP production is stopped, what happens? Many myosin heads cannot get unlocked. Stay like this. Because to move back, you need ATP, right? To detach, you need ATP too. So, we'll stay like this. And that's the contractile condition. Okay? This is the contractile condition, right? Locked condition. This is unlocked. So, that's why the muscles stay stiff, very strong. That is called the rigor mortis. Okay, and now you can ask me then why after 20 hours then muscles start to get again, that's a different mechanism, breakdown of proteins. All these structures are what? Actin, myosin, troponin, tropomyosin, all are protein. You remember I said all these. So when the proteins are destroyed, no actin, no myosin, everything is destroyed, right? So that's a different mechanism. Okay, so that's all about the muscle contraction. If I ask you, draw a neuromuscular junction and explain or show the parts of a neuromuscular junction, make sure you draw this, okay? And there will be several questions. This chapter is very important, so try to remember everything I mentioned.